Hi, I'm Mason Hambley, and this is my video on the halving equation. So the halving equation, y equals a to the 1/2, or a parentheses 1/2 to the x, is used when something is halving. A is your initial amount, and x is the amount of halving periods. This equation works because 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4, and 1/4 times 1/2 is 1/8, and so on. And when x goes up, you are essentially adding another half to be multiplied. Alright, let's get into the examples. Alright, carbon X has a half-life of 15 minutes. If you start with 20 grams of carbon X, after 45 minutes, how much carbon X do you have left? So we're going to set up our halving equation. So we do y equals a to the 1/2 x. So now we just need to plug in our variables. So we know it has a half-life of 15 minutes, and we know we have 45. We're measuring after 45 minutes, so what we do is we divide 45 by 15, and we get 3 for our x value. So we do 3 to the 1/2. Alright, and we know that we start with 20 grams, so we put that for our a value, and we get that equals y. So now what we need to do is we need to do 3 to the 1/2 times 20. So what we do is we do 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 equals 1/8. So then we have 1/8 times 20, and we get 20 over 8, or 2.5. So y equals 2.5 grams. Alright, after this, we're going to do the second example. Carbon Y has a half-life of 20 minutes. If you start with 30 grams of carbon Y, after 80 minutes, how much carbon Y do you have left? So, we're going to start off by writing the halving equation. Then after that, we're going to plug in our variables. So we start with 30 grams. And we have 20 minutes, and it's after 80 minutes. So we do 80 divided by 20, and we get 4. So we do 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2, and we get 1/16. Then we do 30 over 1 times 1/16, and we get 30 over 16, and we get 1 and 14/16, which simplifies to 1 and 7/8. So y equals 1 and 7/8 grams. And for the last example, carbon Z has a half-life of 30 minutes. If you start with 40 grams of carbon Z, after 150 minutes, how much carbon Z do you have left? So what we do, we get our halving equation, y equals a to the 1/2 times x, or to the power of x. Then what we do from here is we plug in our a, we get 40 to the 1/2, and then we have 30 minutes here, and we wait 150, so we do 150 divided by 30 to get 5 for our x. Then what we do is 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2, And from that we get 1/32. And what we do from there is we do 40 over 1 times 1/32, and we get 40 32nds, or y equals 1 and 1/5. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope you know how to do the halving equation now.